The Logosol CH3 Multi-Head Planer is the next-generation planer moulder. The CH3 is designed to easily produce mouldings, paneling, round rods and beams for your building and renovation projects. Developed from 30 years of experience in woodworking, the planer is very easy to both use and own. And with its robust and user-friendly design, you get a lot of machine for the money. In addition, it is profitable to produce your own mouldings and paneling, and you can quickly recoup your investment. And with the fact that the CH3 is also flexible and fun to use, it is truly a machine that every woodworker needs. At first glance, you immediately understand how to use it. Through the cover's protective glass, you can monitor the entire process, and under the cover, all features are easy to access and pedagogically placed and marked. An ergonomic and fun way of working is one of our cornerstones when we develop our machines, something that is reflected in the CH3's design, with all settings and controls quickly accessible from above or on the front of the planer, which makes you effective and quick when installing your cutting tools for both dimension planing and molding. The machine is tuned from our factory in Härnösand, which means that you are up and running in no time. Width and thickness are adjusted by sturdy cranks and easy-to-read scales. And unlike previous planers, the vertical position of the side cutters are precisely adjusted from the factory, so you will get a perfect result at once. We have replaced the traditional cast iron tables with thick, laser-cut and precision-machined steel plates. They are even heavier, coated against rust and more stable than previous tables. Both the cutter heads and the shafts of the side cutters are also rust-proof to allow the planer to be used in unheated workspaces and even outdoors for shorter periods. With an optional feed speed of 3 and 6 meters per minute, you get quick settings for your specific work. For complex moldings that require the best surface finish, choose the lower speed, giving the cutters the optimal time to mill out the finest details. In cases where the surface finish is less important, when producing construction timber for instance, the higher speed is preferable and gives you quick workflow when you are in the middle of a construction project. The feed rollers are fully 40 millimeters in diameter and have specially designed grooves for powerful feeding and to prevent the workpiece from slipping. Depending on the sort of wood and the width of the workpiece, you can adjust the pressure of the rollers accordingly. With the CH3, this is quicker than ever since the adjusting bolts are easily accessible from inside of the machine. Separate motors gives you great milling power, and advantage of being able to start the cutters and the feed individually. And with an increased rotational speed of the top cutter, it produces an even better surface than previous planers. With a patented chip outlet design around the cutter heads, airflow is optimized, giving you a clean and tidy machine. In Logosol's tool catalog, there are hundreds of different standard profiles to choose from. You can also order your own design or reproduce old profiles, which can be of great value if you, for instance, want to renovate an old house with its original mouldings. We are very proud of our many years in working with planer moulders, a knowledge that we are more than happy to share with our customers through both our extensive assortment of molding knives to how-to guides and customer support from our knowledgeable sales team. Our goal is that every owner of a Logosol product should be an expert on their own machine. All of this makes the Logosol CH3 Multi-Head Planer a machine that we are very happy to deliver to our many customers all over the world. It is affordable, extremely easy to use, and you can quickly get started with producing your own moldings and paneling for your building projects.